welcome to another episode of Gift of Gab. I am your host, Gab. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Today, I got a special guest with me. He is from the home team. I have, shall we call you Author Hygens Succes? How you doing, Higgins?
Hey, I'm doing well, thank you. You don't have to call me Author. Higgins is fine.
But you are, though. You are, though.
I am.
You are.
Most definitely, but we know one another, so Higgins is fine.
Well, welcome to Gift of Gab. Thank you so much for being here today. Guys, we are going to be talking about Higgins' first book, and I say first because we expect more. We want more. So we are here today to discuss Higgins' book, 10 Keys to College Success. And we can see it there behind you. Move your head a little bit because I don't have a book to display. There we go. All right, y'all.
Oh, yeah, that.
Thank you so much. So we will go ahead and jump right in. So I always like to have my guests tell the audience a little bit about themselves. So introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, where you're from. Just tell us who Higgins is.
Well, first off, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
As you mentioned, my name is Higgins Succes. Right, originally from Haiti, but I lived in Belle Glade for my entire childhood. Graduated from Glade Central High School, 2009. 2009. While a student there, was involved with several sports, football, basketball, baseball, but also involved on the, academic side as well, National Honor Society and so forth and so on. Once I graduated, I decided to attend University of Florida. Okay. Right, go Gators. That was on an academic ride. So I received a matching first opportunity scholarship. Basically, it's a scholarship program set up for first generation college students. So I was very fortunate to be a recipient of MFOS, as we call it. And, I went to UF. I ended up walking on a football team as a linebacker with Coach Urban Meyer.
Oh, wow.
And then he left, and I ended up playing for Coach William Muschamp, who we had at the time. So, but during the time there, although I didn't play as far as on the field, took full advantage of the opportunity, making connections, making friends, and decided to take the sports agent route. So I majored in sports management, got my bachelor's. Stayed there at UF after graduating with my bachelor's and did my master's as well. So I have my master's in sports management from UF. So once I graduated, after those 6 years, I came back home, started teaching middle school math at Lakeshore Middle. Okay. I was there for about 3 years teaching at right. And that's the middle school I went to. So it was very familiar, obviously. Absolutely. Seeing the kids there, knowing some of the parents, knowing some of their family members, definitely had that, that hometown connection. Yeah. After a couple of years, and but the last 4 years I've spent at Pahokee Middle. So I've been at Pahokee Middle School the last 4 years. Currently serve as the math coach there now. So
and I'm
that's
go Blue Devils. Now, when I'm home, it's all go Raiders, right?
Right,
but
right.
Gab, the Muck gets represented equally. Right. So go Blue
Devils. Most definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, for me, whether it's Glade Central or Pahokee, we're all one of the same. So I never really feel like I'm in Blue Devil territory or I'm a Raider. I'm the Muck.
All I'm gonna say is on the football field, it's go Raiders.
All right. And I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, obviously, if I had to pick one and it's Muck Bowl, I got to go with the Raiders. I mean, I graduated from there. I won a state championship at Glade Central. So, that's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, your book, 10 Keys to College, for College Success, basically with your background that you just gave us, I'd like to think that you have everything needed to write a book on college success, okay? So you not only got your bachelor's, but you went back and got your master's. So you were there for a while, so you know what it takes to be successful in college. So what was the process like bringing this book to fruition for you?
I mean, I've had the idea of writing a book probably for at least, I'd say, a year and a half now. But every time I find myself starting and then I'll just stop. I'll put it down. I get busy doing something or busy with work. But this past spring, I was like, you know what, man, I need to just go ahead and get started with this book. So I just started writing. I think I was on a plane coming home one night, and it was one of those rocky plane rides, and I took my phone out, opened up my notes app, and I just started writing.
Wait a minute, hold on. Hold on, let me pause you right there, because I ain't a good flyer. So here I am freaking out on the plane when it's just a little turbulent, and you write a book.
Yeah, man, I'm right. I mean, that's one of those things that probably just to get my mind off of what's going on around me, right? Like you said, anytime you have turbulence, the baby's in the back crying, the moms and the dads, everyone's panicking. Right. So for me, just to kind of keep my mind off of my surroundings, I just started writing. Normally I read. Like I'm never on a plane without a book. So I normally read every time I'm on a plane. But this particular night, I was writing. So I just started writing, and I got back home, and the next day I just kept on writing. And, all in all, I think it probably about 2.5, 3 months, the entire process.
Wow, absolutely. And that's, I mean, just to start that process all over again on the plane, like I'm telling you, I'm over here just like, how, God? Because I can't even read on a plane. Like, I get motion sickness, right? So I'll watch some movies or something like that, but forget about it. Like, I probably, that would not be true.
Nah, I never watch movies on a plane. I read. I read.
I wish, and I'm a reader. I'm a reader. I'm an Audible listener. So, I love books, but I just feel like just looking at all the words on that plane, I just can't do it. So hats off to you for being able to do that, because me, couldn't do it. So that is super awesome. And I've had other authors on the show before, and I know that can be like a daunting process. Once you start, you feel like you're on a roll, and then life happens, work, school, whatever happens, and you put it down, and you have to make a conscious decision to get back to it, right? So how did you keep yourself motivated for those 3 months to just stay at it, keep going?
Right. No, like you mentioned, there's definitely times where, you have to tend to something else. You have work, you have family, your personal life. But you have to make that conscious effort. So for me, in my mind, I was like, okay, I got to spend like an hour a day writing, or at least thinking about it. Even if I'm not sitting at the computer actually typing something, just taking my phone out, dropping some notes, dropping some rough drafts. I might be somewhere and I think about, man, I remember when that happened. I just jot it down, and I'll get back to it, maybe a day later or maybe 2 days later. So it wasn't like, every day I'm just sitting at the computer, just typing. A lot of times, keep a notepad by the bed or whatnot, and I just jot down a key, or I just jot down a couple of sentences, and then I wake up the next day and just take it from there. But it's definitely, it's something you have to really make a conscious effort. It's a process.
But what I hear from you is those baby steps add up.
They do, most definitely. There are some days where I probably could have wrote 3 chapters, and then there are some days where I don't get no more than maybe 2 sentences in. Right. So, it's not like every day is going to be a good day. You got to be in a space, right? It's just like with everything else. You have to be in that mental space. You're having a good day. You're pretty calm and things are going well. You know what? Let me write some stuff. And then there are some days where I'm like, not today. Nah, I'm not even in that space.
Absolutely. So let's dive into the book a little bit. So of the 10 keys that you write about, which one did you find yourself revisiting a lot, the most throughout your career?
Oh, man. I mean, obviously, I think they're all great keys. But the one I think that probably going to resonate with most students when we're talking about financial aid, because, I mean, obviously, we all can relate there. We all have to have some sort of financial aid to get through college, whether or not that's, from the federal government, whether or not that's from your parents, whether or not you're providing that financial aid yourself, working or, student, whatever it may be. So I think for me, that's the one that I was like, man, you know what? like, I remember when this happened, that was funny. Or I remember, the days where certain friends, their financial aid didn't come in on time, or maybe they didn't have financial aid to begin with. So that's one that I think definitely I look back and I'm like, man, those were wild times.
Absolutely. And we know how pivotal, how important financial aid is to Black people, that like,
right.
because a lot of us don't have that generational wealth built up just yet, right? Like our counterparts that mom and dad can fund us getting through college. So we do rely heavily on Pell Grants and student loans, to get us through. So I would agree that that's something I visited a lot myself.
Right. And I mean, again, like you said, I'm one of those students, like my mom and my dad, they didn't have money to send me off to school. My brother and I, we had to basically, like I said, we had to get it out the mud. We knew that there's no way I can call home and say, hey, mom, do you mind paying for these 2-3 classes for me? That wasn't the case. So, I had to apply for scholarships in high school. Even while in college, you have to apply for, certain scholarships that you may be eligible for. So that was one. I think for me, that's probably my favorite key. It's money, man. We all love money too. You know what I mean? It's like we need it.
We do. And I think, and I'd like you to speak more to this, but it's never too early to start applying for scholarships.
Right. Well, most definitely. Right, most definitely. And I mean, not to give too much about the book, but for me, I was one of those people that didn't necessarily start early, right? As I mentioned earlier, I was playing football, I was playing basketball, so I thought for sure, my education was going to be paid for through an athletic scholarship. So, I didn't start too late, but looking back at it, I'm like, okay, I could have definitely, helped myself even more had I started even a year earlier or even 6 months earlier. So I think for students, a lot of students like to wait until their junior year or until their senior year. And a lot of times that's not even to their fault, right? The adults that's probably helping with the process may be busy with the current seniors or maybe busy with the current junior class. So they're kind of like, hey, you have some more time. I'll get to you next year, or I'll get to you, when you become a junior. But you don't have to wait, and you don't need your guidance counselor at your school. You can go online, you can Google scholarships, and, you can start, looking at the application process. Am I going to have to write an essay? Am I going to have to submit some sort of paperwork? And my parents going to have to submit some documents? So those little things like that, you can start gathering on your own as a student. You don't necessarily need a guidance counselor unless, they're asking for transcripts, which at that point, if you're starting early, they're probably not asking for a transcript, and if that's the case, you'll cross that bridge when you get there. But definitely, want to start early.
Absolutely. So in addition to your book, what are some other books that you would recommend for, our young students?
I mean, I'm a reader, so I like reading a lot of different books. This past spring, one of the best books I think I've read in quite some time. It's by author Malcolm Gladwell, and it's The Advantages and Disadvantages. All right, so he basically looked at certain things that we may look at as a disadvantage, and he gives you some advantages of having that, right? So, he just talked about different things. From a financial standpoint, one of the things he talked about that really clicked with me was like the thought that, money makes you happy, right? The advantage of having money, right? You're able to buy the things you want. You're probably going to have more friends or so-called friends than you've ever had. But then, he looked at it from the point where, well, how come, the suicide rates are a lot higher in countries with more money than the poorer countries, right? So does it really make you happy, right? You look at a third world country, not a lot of people commit suicide. But when you look at like your top 5 countries, according to, economic status, suicide rates are through the roof, So that's one of my favorite books by Malcolm Gladwell, most definitely.
Awesome.
I'd recommend that book. Huh?
What are you currently reading?
Um, I probably started like 2, 3 books that I haven't finished yet.
I'm with you.
Right. So I definitely started a couple books that I haven't finished yet. I do want to get into Will Smith's new book though, so I think I'm gonna probably
Okay.
pick that one up. I'm gonna probably pick that one up in the next week or so. I've
Okay.
heard some good things about it, so
Okay. I
yeah,
like
that'll be my next one.
Okay, okay. So, can we expect more books from you? I know I put that pressure on you in the beginning. I was like, your first book, but
Right, right.
can we
I
expect
mean,
more from you?
I definitely, expect to write another book. I do. I have some ideas. I have some ideas already just brewing. I'll probably take a couple months just to enjoy this one. A lot of times when we work at something, we tend to kind of just want to get to the next one. And we really don't get time to sit back and enjoy what we've accomplished. So I'll probably take a couple months and just enjoy this book and, enjoy, everything about it before I really start actually thinking and writing again. But I definitely will write more books though.
Good for you. And I like that because we don't take a lot of time to just
Right,
bask
right.
in
No,
our accomplishments. Society, the world tells us, okay, on to the next thing, right?
right,
Because we're
right,
so worried about people losing interest. But, it's about quality over quantity. And I think
right.
when you spend that time just really, giving yourself the love and praise that you deserve, then you produce something else of quality because you've taken that time to love on yourself and let yourself know how important it is to give yourself time to just
Right. I mean,
love
most
what you just
definitely.
did.
Right. I agree. And I mean, it's not like, I'm signed to some publisher and I have to, keep up some contractual and put out so many books. Right. So, you know, when I feel that the time is right, I'll pick it up and start writing again.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So where can readers find 10 Keys to College Success?
On Amazon. So basically, I have a paperback version. You can find it on Amazon. You also have the KDP version as well, where you can get on your tablets or your your ebook. So you have both versions, the ebook as well as the paperback on Amazon.
And where can the people find you if they want to follow you on social media?
My Instagram, it's Hygens Succes. So my first name Hygens, my last name Success Succes, and then on Twitter it's the_Megazo,
Okay.
DA_MEGAZOE. So those primarily the two social media platforms that I'm pretty much on, especially on Twitter. I'm pretty much always on Twitter. So
I'm like the only
definitely.
person I know that's not on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's useful. It's very useful. Different things. If you want to get the news, if you want to, whatever it is that you're trying to get to, I'm pretty sure you can find it on Twitter. If it's for entertainment purposes, business purposes, it kind of fits all of it.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe one of these days I agree. But
Hey,
I
man.
sincerely appreciate you for being here on the show today. Looking forward to much success in your future, and how befitting of your last name, right? It's Success. Like you have no choice but to have success. Look at your last
Yeah.
name. That's major.
Thank you. Definitely a lot of pressure put on me, right? So
Ain't no pressure.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to deal with it,
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I wish you great things in the future. You are always welcome back to the Gift of Gab. Maybe you'll announce your next book here. So
hey,
no pressure
knows?
though. No pressure.
No pressure.
No pressure. So to everybody else out there, I highly recommend following this gentleman, especially, black men. We have to have shining examples like Higgins, out there in front of us, and we want that for our boys, right? And not just our boys, but men of your age. We can all learn from me. Outside of that, y'all, I am your host, Gab, and as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Love you. Bye.